Broadcast is live, so I think we're going live. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is going to be our new weekly podcast, Fantasy Football Adventures, and as you've seen, we had a long intro to it last week, but thanks for stopping in again, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Improv Pete, the three-time.
What's going on, guys?
There he is.
Excited, very excited. Week one, it's here. It's finally here. Football is back.
Okay, so now I had jotted down a few things that I wanted to talk about with you, but now it's going to change due to a little injury today.
I'm all
So
ears.
we're gonna start with what I wanted to talk with and head into that. So now looking at your boys, the Saints, they cut
Mhm.
Latavius Murray.
Yes, tragic.
Anybody who watched last week's thing, you were high on him, thinking he was going to get some carries because they don't want to kill Kamara. So okay, it made sense. They cut him over money. So now
Which
let's
makes sense.
it doesn't though, and here's why it doesn't make sense. You're paying a guy to be a quarterback, and he's not your quarterback. He's not your running back, and he's not your tight end. So why was this a thing? Are you excited about this? Now, with them cutting him, they have Tony Jones Jr. Are you excited about him over Latavius Murray? Do you think that Taysom Hill will get more touches? What are the Saints doing? Tell me. Enlighten me.
I intend to. I think that they are going to use Taysom Hill a lot. I think over the last couple of years, he's definitely been the guy when it's not the quarterback position. And you have Jamison Winston. A lot of people have mixed thoughts on him, especially me. But I feel like with him, he can deliver. And the nice thing with Hill is you have that tight end, you have that running back. And with the first couple weeks, what I see, because we don't have a full team, you still have to remember Michael Thomas is still weeks out. You have Callaway, who's going to be presumably the top receiver. So, in that essence, how is Taysom Hill going to fit in? Is he going to be the tight end that we need? Is he going to be a nice little running back to Kamara? I feel like he is definitely going to be more utilized because how do you not utilize Taysom Hill?
Well, that was going to be my point. Is you're paying this guy quarterback money? He's got to be on the field. He
100%.
he didn't get to start a quarterback job. You've got a young kid, Troutman, at tight end, who was a little banged up in the preseason. Hill's played tight end. He's played
That's
a
what I'm
little
saying.
little fullback action. You have to play this guy, especially because you now had to cut Latavius Murray because he was due a roster bonus over money by him not wanting to take a pay cut. So you've lost a serviceable backup running back because essentially of Taysom Hill.
hmm But I mean, I posed the question to you from last year. I mean, how many times did we really see Hill on the field all season? Maybe 50% of the time?
You
I
saw
don't
him
think that's
enough.
that's not an exaggeration.
You
I
saw
don't
him
think
enough to make a difference, and that's my point. Now there's no more Drew Brees, so that puts a questionable quarterback, in. Maybe Jameis might be great. You don't know.
but what happens if he sucks? What happens then? Does Taysom Hill take the position then, you
Well,
think?
what Sean Payton had already said is if Jameis had gotten hurt in the game, Taysom Hill would not be the quarterback who came in because he wouldn't have time to prep. So that's already a big negative on Taysom. Is he that far behind Jameis that he's focused on other things and not quarterbacking at all? Because why are you paying him? I don't understand why you're paying him then. Because you're not paying him to be a quarterback. What are you paying him
100%.
as the highest paid tight end in the league, the highest paid fullback in the league? What is the logic now?
But
With
that's
that
why
being
I think
said, no, 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 good, good, good. And then I'll
but
say,
that's
go
why
ahead.
I think that he's going to be that universal player. And I see him maybe having a lot more touches when it comes to running back. I have always, and I said last week on the show, I've always liked Latavius Murray. Everybody knows that he's a great power back. He was great for third downs. But obviously, because of the money, yes, we're paying Taysom Hill as well as a quarterback salary. I get that. But it's now the time to show why we're paying Hill that much money. Breeze is no longer there. So Jamison Winston is that quarterback. So, like you said, Taysom has to fit in somewhere. And he's that universal player where you could put him in a tight end, running back, or trick play situation. I do see him quarterbacking quote unquote, and running the ball himself. But I also see him being a big player because right now you have a bunch of rookies and the established names besides Kamara. Who are you really looking at? Are you thinking Callaway's really going to be the guy? We have to wait and see. So I think that Hill, being the established veteran on the Saints, is definitely going to have a predominant role, especially now that Latavius Murray is out.
I think just because of his salary, he's got to be on the field 75% of the time to justify any part of that, whether it's tight end, fullback, wildcat, whatever. He needs to be on the field.
Agreed.
And if he's going to be on the field in wildcat plays, eventually he has to throw the ball. You're paying him as a quarterback, so you know he's got a quarterback arm. He needs to throw the ball every now and then. He just can't take the ball himself every play. But now, with that being said, so as we talked about, Latavius Murray got cut. So in Baltimore, we've got another slew of major knee injuries.
The Gus bust.
They did not sign Latavius Murray. They signed Devonta Freeman. So is there something behind this? Do you think there's something behind this? I mean, obviously we don't know. We're not in the locker rooms, whatever. We don't know. But wouldn't that have been a perfect fit where, a legit running back?
Yeah, but I would take Freeman over Latavius Murray. If I had a draft right now and we knew what we know now and there was Devonta Freeman and there was Latavius Murray, I would take Devonta Freeman.
You don't think he's washed up?
No.
He couldn't cut it on the Giants, couldn't cut it with the 49ers.
I think he
obviously didn't cut it with the Falcons, and that's why they got rid of him for another washed-up running back, seemingly. Todd Gurley's sitting there. Why didn't the Ravens sign him? They brought in Le'Veon Bell, who's done nothing in the last 3 years since holding out. So,
yeah, but didn't Le'Veon Bell just get signed?
By Baltimore.
Yeah.
They signed him, and then Edwards got hurt, and now they brought in Freeman. Not Todd Gurley, not Latavius Murray, not established backs that seem to have something left. They're going the other route. So I'm curious to Murray obviously he'd be getting the minimum if Baltimore had signed him. I'm curious to if teams maybe viewed that as greedy, maybe a bad locker room thing. I don't know. I hope not, but so
you don't think Latavius Murray is going to get signed anywhere?
No, I didn't say that, but I'm just curious to why Baltimore won. There's got to be something more behind the story because I'll take Latavius Murray over Devonta Freeman all day long.
Really? See,
oh yeah,
I think Devonta will do.
If I want a running back, I want a guy who's going to run between the tackles, run a guy over, not a guy who he's more of a pass catcher type back, etc. You already got that with Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell's going to hop around all day long, making his jump cuts or his 2-yard runs.
But you expect Le'Veon Bell to be amazing? I don't expect him to be good.
No, but I feel like this is going to lead to a rough season for Lamar Jackson because he may have to run more.
It's something he's very familiar with.
he is, but now you got no backups behind him. So is he going to put that on his shoulders? We already seen the passing game struggles at times, so now. What if you got no passing game, no running game? Their run open up their pass. But
so, do you see Baltimore falling apart this year then, with now the running back problems?
Preseason predictions had them and I believe Pittsburgh with the same record and Cleveland about a game or two behind them. I think it's going to flip flop now, where Cleveland will now jump up and be battling Pittsburgh, and Baltimore will be that step back. Can they make the playoffs? Absolutely. Can the defense carry them? They just lost a Pro Bowl corner as well, so that's what's scary. Is a lot of people are saying that they got 5-6 good corners over there. We will see. They play the Raiders week 1.
I was about to say they play the Raiders week 1, and that's the Monday night game.
That is the Monday night game. So maybe there'll be something that you can take away from that game, but I don't see that as a proving game for either aspect, their offense or their defense, because you never know what you're getting with the Raiders.
Yeah, that is very true. Raiders could go either way. I mean, I passed up on Josh Jacobs many times in the draft.
Exactly. All right, so now that we got through that beginning part, let's talk about tonight. I've got a jersey on representing.
I was going to say, you do. Good old Mike Evans.
So what are you feeling tonight? Dallas-Tampa predictions. Who you got? Anybody you think is going to go above and beyond tonight?
I think the
thing I sent you see that Tampa, as of Wednesday, was an 8-point favorite. Okay, Dallas is without one of the best guards in the league, Zach Martin. So you see right there, Bucks are an 8-point favorite. So you think the Bucks win by 8 or more? You think the
Absolutely.
Bucks? You think the Bucks win? So if
I
absolutely,
think the
that
Bucks
means you think the
easily
Bucks.
win.
So you don't think the Cowboys are going to hang?
I think I think the Cowboys are going to deliver is Zeke. I think this is going to be a game for fantasy players who are playing Zeke at running back. I think Zeke is going to hit the ground running. I really think Prescott's going to have to, get into the fields. I really think there's going to be a Zeke game, but you can't underestimate Tom Brady. You have the whole Buccaneers team there, and I see a big game. I'm hoping from Godwin, obviously fantasy, but I could also see you have Evans, you have Gronk, you have so many weapons that you could use. And I think Tampa Bay has something to show. They are the Super Bowl champions. People are forgetting Brady beat 3 MVPs last year, and Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes. You have to set the stage, and what better than day one of football? Bucks are going to easily win. I would say by 15 points, easily.
So no rust, no, you know. So you got to remember, a lot of these guys didn't play in the preseason. I hate the preseason. As you've seen, multiple guys have gotten hurt already because of preseason. Granted, today was practice. We've got a bunch of big names getting hurt. So, like I said, I hate the preseason. It
I
kills
know
me.
you do.
Let them have their joint practices and whatever and do their thing, but preseason's a waste. So you didn't get the big guns in the preseason. So I feel like there may be some rust. But with that
See,
being said,
you
I
see
feel like
Lamb
this
having a
game.
big game.
I think this game's going to go either way. Either the Bucks are going to win by 30, or the Cowboys keep it close. There's no middle ground. I'm leaning towards the Cowboys covering, only because it's week one. To show this thing, I'm in a pool. That's what these numbers are for. So I had to pick. You pick them. One is Bucks cover, two is Cowboys cover. So, if the Cowboys lose by 7, the Cowboys win in that sense. So that's where we're going with that. So I don't know. I want to see the Bucks running backs. I want to see who emerges. Is it Ronald Jones? Is it Fournette?
I was going to say, do you see Fournette? Do you see Ronald Jones having a big game?
I, the Cowboys defense is rough, real rough. So somebody's got to establish himself tonight. I think we know the receivers are what they are. Brady is what he is. So I'm not worried about that. I need to see what their running backs bring to the table, because if they're not doing nothing and Tampa's going to throw all day long, yeah, that's going to keep the Cowboys in the game. If the Bucks can control the clock, then there's no chance.
I
So now,
I agree.
well, I was going to say, now going ahead, now that we're looking at this while we got this up, because I don't want to keep this up forever. Give me an upset out of this list of games. I'm not talking about spread. I just use this so you can see who's playing who.
Yep.
Give me an upset special over here. I want to see what you think. So obviously, on the left is the favorites. The right is the underdogs.
Yep. I definitely see. I see Washington.
You think Washington can beat the Chargers?
I do. I think. What do you have in that division? I mean, you have week one Bucks versus Cowboys. Predominantly, Bucks are going to win. Then you move down. You have Falcons, Eagles. You don't know what Matt Ryan is showing up this year. Yes, he doesn't have the great receivers of yesteryear, but I do think that Atlanta could also be a contender. There's no doubt about that. And Broncos, Giants. That I see being a close game, but I really see for a game that nobody's expecting, I expect Washington to at least win by 10.
See, the way when I was looking at this, I'm looking at them like, how are the Falcons favored over the Eagles? The Falcons at home, they get 3 points. They're plus 3.5, which means they're projected to win by half. And like I said, we're not picking with the spreads, but that still means they're favored over the Eagles. The Eagles were going to be my pick, but I think actually, even though again it's a reverse, that the Bengals are really -6 under those. I think the Bengals are going to come out, prove some people wrong, and beat the Vikings.
Really?
And the reason I say that is because the whole COVID issue going on with that team, players not wanting to get vaccinated, this, and that. I just feel like there's more distractions going around in that locker room than needs to be when you're starting up a season. So I feel like the Bengals are going to be hungry. You know, Burrow's coming off a major injury. He wants to prove he's the guy. He's got his wide receiver. They still got their running backs. So I feel like the Bengals could be that upset special for the week.
I do like that. I do like that. Obviously, I would like to see the Saints dominate the Packers.
Yeah.
But that's not a surprise there, you know, got to represent.
Yeah, of
But
course.
I think you know what the one thing about week 1 of football that I must love is you don't know who's going to look good and who's not. You got to remember, look at Pittsburgh last year. Pittsburgh was going insane with their winning record until legit COVID really did fuck them up. Well, not that team specifically, but just playing so many games in a short amount of time is going to be daunting on any team. But
Of
they
course.
were looking.
The NFL is trying to get rid of that now. They're like, if you guys now at this point, if you can't get this under control, that's on you, type of thing. We don't want people playing games on Wednesday afternoon and then having to play a Sunday game. Now the Sunday game gets moved to Monday type of deal.
Yeah, 100%.
So, those things will be less of an issue this year. But yeah, it definitely was rough. So
But that's what I'm saying. Nobody expected the Steelers last year to be as dominant as they were. If I
No,
said
of
to you
course
last
not.
year,
But you
like,
saw what happened. Then they fell apart after. They went from going 16-0 to, barely make. I don't want to say barely making the playoffs, but getting a run for their
yeah,
money.
but it was definitely difficult at the end. I agree. I do
Mhm.
want to point out one couple of things. I want to get your thoughts on it. Just two in particular games. Obviously, we have the Panthers and Jets.
Mhm.
Do you feel like the Jets could come away with a win?
I don't know what Jets team we're going to expect, and that's what's good and bad about Week 1 is you really don't know what you're getting. You know, can the Jets win the game? Of course, because the Panthers aren't anything to write home about. You saw how bad Sam was for years.
Of
Because
course.
he's got obviously got extra motivation this week. Good on him. The Panthers, are what they are. They have the best running back in football. Can the Jets stop him is obviously a big thing because if you force Sam to pass, even though he's
He's
on a
done.
different team and he's got better weapons, it's not always going to be pretty. What was the other one? Because I was going to ask you what games are you looking forward to. So if you're asking me, I feel like we're going down that wagon.
That's fine
But
because what game I'm very curious about, actually, probably my most anticipated game, surprisingly, Pat's Dolphins.
think so.
I
I mean,
think
I'm
that
looking right in the middle. You got the Titans, Cardinals. Can the Cardinals
that
prove
could, oh
themselves?
God, that's a great game too.
Because look at how good the Cardinals division is.
Mm-hmm.
They need to come out and say, hey, we're here too. We got Kyler Murray, we got Hopkins. We need to prove that we can hang with the big boys. Everybody's all over that place with who's going to win that division. Because you could make an argument for all the teams realistically.
Yep, I
So
agree.
somebody's got to prove that they can beat a team, especially beating a good team. The 49ers playing the Lions. The 49ers beat the Lions. Good job. Congratulations.
Well, my curious team too is Seahawks Colts.
Yeah.
What's going to happen there?
I mean, I don't see that as much. Seahawks have changed some things around. They got a new offense, etc. I just feel like Carson Wentz is just not. Week 1, Carson Wentz isn't going to be the Carson Wentz he's supposed to be coming out of
But
college.
look at Taylor. People are very high on Taylor. You don't think he's the one that performs on that team?
He's going to have to without T.Y. Hilton and obviously banged up Carson Wentz. He's got to show his worth.
Oh, fair. Also, and then just for me personally, another game that I'm very curious about is Rams and Bears.
Yeah. More so because the Rams have so many weapons. I want to see how they use it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The Bears, they've got quarterback carousel. Not lots of weapons, but they got weapons. Can they
They have
use
good
them as
weapons
well?
though.
And if you look at the thing again, you can only take these things with a grain of salt. 45.5 on the over under. It's not a ton. You can see that the Packers game is 50, the Chiefs game is 54, things like that. The Titans game is 51.5. So there's
Mm-hmm.
a handful of games that have a higher over under than there. So, is this a tricky one where they're thinking that these offenses aren't going to gel or these defenses better than people give them credit for? I know the Rams are supposed to be a top defense. They have that guy in the middle, Aaron Donald, who's pretty good.
Yeah, just a tad. I should know.
Yeah.
That's fantasy. But no, yeah, those just looking at this right now, like this is those are definitely the games that I'm curious to see just on my thoughts alone how these teams are going to look. Because, like I said, we could see a lot of upsets this week, and that's what's interesting. There could be a
Absolutely.
lot of upsets this week.
Absolutely. I mean, I like the game you touched on earlier too, that Chargers Washington game. In Justin Herbert's second year, Washington, new quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what are these teams bringing to the table? Again, low over under with the points. So
McLaurin, I've always been a fan of him. What's he
exactly,
going to do?
you got McLaurin, you got Gibson, you got, like I said, you got Fitzpatrick, who's prone to turn the ball over, but he's also prone to light it up. So
Yeah, which Fitz magic are we going to get this time?
exactly, and then you got Keenan Allen, you got a allegedly banged up Austin Eckler, and you got Mike Williams over there. Yeah, they lost Hunter Henry, but they still got weapons galore over there. So, see what the Chargers got. Those are two games that I'm definitely interested in.
So another question I have going back to tonight's game, because a lot of people are excited about the opening day of football, of course, is Gronk. Should people play him? He did amazing in the Super Bowl. Will he do amazing week one? Last year, as we saw in the regular season, not a big force to be reckoned with, obviously, but at the Super Bowl, he was Brady's guy. You saw him on TikTok doing the photos, him and Gronk. I don't know if you saw that. So they have that chemistry. Does Gronk play? Should you play Gronk in fantasy today?
I'm going to go with absolutely not, only because of what you just said. In the playoffs, absolutely, Gronk's a force you can't cover him. Do you need to be killing him week one of the regular season? You don't need him to go 8 for 130 and 2 touchdowns. They got weapons galore. So I don't think so. I think they're going to want to try and pound the ball a bit. So, as seeing Gronk got hurt years back blocking, so do you really want Gronk out there blocking? I think he may get 50 yards receiving. Is that worth playing? If you really need a tight end in a pinch, sure. But
does he catch a touchdown?
No, I don't think not this week. Unless Brady's going to force him something, which obviously the way Brady is, he wants to stay away from turning the ball over, throwing interceptions. I don't see him forcing him much, not with those weapons.
I'm going to make a prediction here.
It's a Gronk
First touchdown goes to Gronk. Some way, somehow, Gronk will get the first touchdown.
Brady's first touchdown or first touchdown of the year?
No, Brady's first touchdown goes to Gronk. I think I feel Zeke will have a superb game. I think Zeke has to prove himself. And like I said, it's going to be interesting because you have a lot of weapons in this game. So fantasy owners, you got to be looking at who was Lamb worth the pick.
That's what's making this game a must-watch. Not that the defending Super Bowl champs are playing. There's just so much fantasy to, okay, Michael Gallup, he was really good. They brought in CeeDee Lamb. So now Michael Gallup gets pushed to the side. Can Michael Gallup contribute? Is he still worth a late-round pick? And all those things. Blake Jarwin, a tight end on Dallas, he was supposed to be that guy, and then he got hurt real early last year. Obviously Dak coming off an injury, Zeke.
What?
So there's a lot to unpack. Unfortunately, a lot of it's on the Cowboys side.
But, of course. Yeah. I think if the Cowboys show up, I think they're a force to be reckoned with in the NFC East.
Well, in that division, absolutely. I feel Dallas just on adrenaline. The first half, it'll be a game. But then after that, can they hang? It could go 17-14 at halftime, but then does it end 35-14?
That's very true. That's very true.
That's what I want to see. That's what you got to see. Can Dallas play a full game? Because I don't think Dallas can be able to stop Brady.
I think Brady's just going to show why he's the GOAT. And I know that's very controversial, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, enough with Brady." The man is fantastic. I said it last week on the podcast. I will say it this week again. The man is great, and he's going to show you tonight why he's great.
Yeah. And you know what? He's smart enough. He knows what his limits are now. He's not over here throwing 50-yard bombs every single play. If you're going to give him 8 yards, he's going to take 8 yards. If you're going to give him 20 yards, he can still get that 20-yard play. So, he's got the brain for the game.
It was funny. It was funny because the other yesterday actually, I'm watching YouTube clips as I do, and it was like 17 minutes of Brady just doing game-winning drives, and you expect these big passes, and no, they're little. Here's 7, 8 yards, runs out
Exactly.
of bounds, and just methodical and just very smart about how he goes about things. And I'm like, this is what makes a quarterback great. And he doesn't need to do the Mahomes big pass to Tyreek Hill. He could just be very in the pocket, have his protection, and just boom, just bullet passes.
Hmm. As long as they protect him and he doesn't, get hit, they're fine.
Exactly, and with that whole team being back, how they didn't touch him last year that much, so a couple of times, but not. He does the Eli where he just it goes down like a little kid.
Yeah, of course. So let's. I'm not saying that we're closing it off right this second. We didn't talk a ton of fantasy this week,
No,
because it's we're getting into the thing week one, but who you high on this week and who you hating on this week, and that's what we'll close it out with.
all right, so
Let's go big first. Who's your big guy? Who you expecting to have a big week?
big week. I said it before. I think Zeke will definitely, as a point, have a big week. I think it's definitely going to be a running back week for a lot of players. I think McCaffrey is just going to show why he was the number one picker
Of
overall.
course, it doesn't hurt playing the Jets.
I mean, and
you
no
know,
offense to you, you being a Jets fan, but McCaffrey is fantastic. I mean, across the board, I think he had more fan points by 50 over everybody else, and I just think that McCaffrey's going to have a huge game. He was suffering from a lot of injuries last year, but he's going to come and he's going to show you why he's the best. And of course, you know, you got to trust him because on Carolina, no disrespect to Robbie Anderson or any of them, but he is that focal point. And against the Jets, I mean, 100%. Who I
well,
think is going
hold
to
on. Let me
suck.
let me let
Oh,
me take you down a little bit, just because obviously that's an easy pick, picking the number one fantasy guy.
yeah,
Give me
of
someone.
course.
Give me some like a non-first round running back who you think could be,
Okay, okay, I'll give you that.
back end first round guy. Who's not McCaffrey, who's not Cook, who's not Kamara. Those guys are going to go. The Derrick Henrys. I'm not saying Derrick Henry is a great matchup this week, but give me not them.
Okay, okay, I'll give you. OBJ.
You like OBJ this week? You think this is the
I think so. I think OBJ, had a rough couple years, but you saw in preseason he was making some nice catches. He was looking good. I think a lot of people slept on him. It is obviously a big risk in fantasy taking him because you have that Jarvis Landry who could also put up the points. But I think OBJ, I think him and Baker has definitely worked on a nice little one-for-one connection. I definitely see OBJ being a very productive against the Chiefs, which the Chiefs, they lost the Super Bowl. Wham. They're going to come in hard, but Mahomes might get a little bit ahead of himself like he did in the Super Bowl. And I think that OBJ will be flying down that field. And Baker, who looked absolutely fantastic last year, you can't say the Browns didn't look good last year. I think that they're definitely going to have a connection. I definitely think OBJ will have a great game.
Do you think he has a great game, or do you think this is a bounce back year where he puts his season together, stays on the field, doesn't get hurt, or do you think it's just this week, like he could have a breakout game?
I see, and obviously it's a cop out answer. I understand, folks, but I definitely see a great game with definitely a potential of a great season.
Okay.
I do see that if he shits the bed this week and he sucks, then I could be like, okay, OBJ is not the answer anymore. But if he
Mm-hmm.
has a big game and then next week he has a big game, I just see the uphill. I see greatness. I really see OBJ having a great year. Now, when I want to get your thoughts and then I'll give you my who's gonna suck the big one.
All right, so I'm going to take a back end running back who's probably going to be on a lot of people's benches this week, and it's Sermon on San Fran. They took him high. I don't want to say they took him high, but they took him, to be their back of the future. They're playing the Lions. Lions got a new coach. I feel like the Lions in the long run are going to be much better than what they've been in the years past. But they have Jared Goff, and they're the Lions. So realistically, San Fran might manhandle them, which means this kid's going to get the ball. So he's going to get a chance to prove himself. There's no more McKinnon. There's no more Coleman. So they still got Mostert. But this kid, I feel like, will get a good chunk of touches where he can probably show, hey, I can average 5, 6 yards a carry. I deserve more carries. So I feel like this is the week where he can show that he can handle the load and cut into carries, and then nobody wishes injuries, but you never know if something happens. And he can step into that lead role. So I think this is a good start week for him. Good startup week. Like, here we go. I'm going to get a good start to my season and build off that.
Now I'm going to say a name. You know that I think he'll be back because he's back home. Randall Cobb. Big first game against the Saints.
Are you asking me?
I am.
No, I think there's too many mouths to feed, and I don't remember if we talked about this on stream or off stream, but I just think there's too much action. He might get a couple grabs early.
Under 5 points in fantasy.
No, he'll get 5, but he's not getting. I don't think he's getting double digits unless something goes terribly wrong there. You have 2 running backs very high on everybody's list. You have the number 1 receiver, and you have a top half, top 6, 8 tight end for fantasy purposes. It's just too much to quit. You're not going to game plan. You may get him a couple screens or something just to get him the ball, get the crowd into it, because they're not playing in New Orleans because of what's gone on.
I would say so.
So, no, I don't think he's going to be that guy. He might be a steady source of like 8 points a game all year, but you can find guys who out of nowhere you'll find a guy who's a 5th string receiver going into week 1, and then with injuries and whatever, just happens to have a big game and boom, jumps up the depth charts like a Mecole Hardman. He's not Tyreek Hill. They had Sammy Watkins last year. A guy who comes into that, who's on a lower and builds his way up. So go ahead, give me your flops of the week.
Josh Jacobs.
I would agree with that, but I don't want to have the same answer. But go ahead, give me your reasons why Jacobs is not going to be a solid play.
I think, now, I was very high on him last year. Everybody knows I think I drafted him twice out of 4 leagues. I don't see the Raiders being the team this year. I think they're going to really suffer. I think last year, I don't want to call it a fluke, but I feel like that team is not going to be good, and I think Josh Jacobs is not going to deliver. I mean, towards the end of the year, if you remember in fantasy, he really wasn't giving a lot of points. In the beginning, man, the guy was a fantasy machine. But towards the end, I was not getting those double digits. I was getting 7s and I was getting 6s, and it really was hurting me towards the end. And I just don't expect Josh Jacobs to be in line to where people are drafting him in a fantasy draft. I don't think he's that running back this year. I think that he could lose his job.
I don't think he'll lose his job, but there's a lot of mouths to feed on that team too. You have three good young receivers and an elite tight end, and then him. Plus with Kenyon Drake possibly stealing some carries. Yeah, it's real hard to lose his job to Kenyon Drake. But again, I don't think he's worth what he's picking as. And unfortunately, my flop of the week is going back to that same game that I talked about in reverse. It's Swift. Been banged up all preseason. So fairly high-end pick in fantasy. Going up against a real good run defense. So being banged up, playing a real good team. Probably going to be losing, which means they're going to have to throw the ball more. I don't see him getting what he's projected for. Unless he breaks a big run, it's probably not going to be a good week for Swift owners. And I have him. So, but guess where he is on my bench? He's on my bench this week. So.
Sleeper that nobody expects to be good. Like, I mean, deliver. Whether it was a high fantasy or low, who is that guy?
To deliver?
Yep, who just gives you, I'm saying, 25 points. Just huge.
That's obviously not a quarterback I'm going with. Because, I mean, quarterbacks are going to get them.
Obviously, but I'm saying of the flex, somebody that just you don't expect, but you do. Like, I'll go, for example, I would say Shark. Okay. I think he might have a blow-up game. I mean, he's playing Houston, granted, and they're in Houston. I get that. But I just think that he is a great receiver. And I feel like last year he delivered, and I just feel like he could have a breakout year this year. I am actually playing him because the Gus Bus is no more. So if anybody who watches wants to know, I am playing good old Shark.
Oh, okay. I
But
want
what
to
would
say
be
none of these guys are getting 25 fantasy points, but I feel like the Giants, they're guys. Somebody's going to have to step up on an offense that's not named Saquon Barkley, and if Barkley's limited, somebody on the Giants is gonna impress this week. Galladay's kind of banged up, so it won't be him, but it'll be one of those guys on the Giants. You know, Sterling Shepard's been a name for years and is always hurt. Something like that. A Sterling Shepard
and I could see that against the Broncos,
could
definitely.
could go. Yeah, they get a real good pass rush and stuff like that. But the Giants aren't great. And like I said, Barkley's may not get a full workload. Galladay has been hurt all preseason. So, somebody like that who's not getting the love because they brought in the number one receiver might be that guy. And in Denver, he might become a shootout. I don't know if the game's in Denver, but either way they're playing Denver, it might become a game where
I will let you give me 1 second. I'll tell you exactly where they are. They are at.
points could be scored.
The Giants are home.
Giants are home. Okay. So altitude will not come into play in that game.
So we'll definitely see what happens. But I think that's a good week one.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
I got nothing else for you, so we can cut it off with that and pick it up again next week. Hopefully, it's an awesome fantasy week, and if not, we'll have other stuff to talk about. Hopefully, not too many injuries because I don't want to be talking about eight-string running backs getting picked up off the parking lot, starting for teams by week
Currently
5.
finally get signed.
So something like that. I'd much rather see players play.
Absolutely.
We'll find out. All right, sir.
Thank you guys for watching. Of course, we're doing this every week. We're going to be hitting you with all our fantasy knowledge, who we think are the big sleepers, who are the big busts. So make sure you come on over, you hit that subscribe button, you hit the bell so you know exactly when we're going live. And I mean, if you're into video games, that's awesome because if you come over to the Improv Pete Show, I got a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to also be having a reaction to the PlayStation Showcase that was today. And a whole bunch of weird things like playing the demo of WarioWare. So much fun stuff. So make sure you check it out. Also follow Mr. J Rush over on Twitter, right in the little scroll right there. You can follow me always at Improv Pete. And until next week,
answer your questions.
Yep, absolutely. And I want to thank you, J Rush, for joining me.
Of course.
And we will see you guys next week.
Sir, take care, everyone.